South Africans awoke this week to political shakes in a move many are describing as brazen, even reckless. Fikile African National Congress ANC Secretary-General has unofficially named President Cyril Ramaphosa's successor. Whether it was an accidental blurt, a strategic game of power, or the party exposing its hands sooner than it wanted to, the message was clear: as time is done. The masterfully crafted ambiguity on ANC succession strategy was blown up by one sentence. In a press conference initially billed as discussing coalition negotiations in the aftermath of the ANC's disastrous election outcome, Mbalula veered off script. Rather than offer the traditional platitudes, he named a figure who sparked waves of speculation throughout the political class: Paul Moshetel, the incumbent deputy president. His comments, spoken with measured weight, were interpreted as much more than offhand approval. For many, they constituted a de facto succession announcement. This moment could not have come at a more volatile time. The ANC, for the first time since 1994, fell below the 50% mark in national elections, a historic humiliation for Africa's oldest liberation movement. Coalition discussions with rival parties are still ongoing, but Mbalula's words felt less like political diplomacy and more like a thunderclap, an open signal that the ANC's internal dynamics are shifting dramatically. For Ramaphosa, the ensuing silence was deafening. Respected for his measured, calculating utterances, the president gave only a bland appeal for unity and stability. But South Africans are no fools. His failure to explicitly counter Mbalula's remarks is being read in two ways. For some, it is a sign of quiet concession. Ramaphosa seeing the writing on the wall, already making plans for a dignified departure. Others believe the quiet is strategic, the precursor to a bitter struggle for power that will tear the ANC apart from within. Behind the scenes, sources indicate Ramaphosa is being nudged by veteran ANC elders who think his presidency has lost its magic. To them, his tenure has been characterized by indecision, by tentativeness when bold strides were needed, and by a failure to galvanize the party's grassroots. His detractors claim that during his leadership, the ANC has lost both credibility and votes. His supporters retort that he kept the country together through adversity, preventing South Africa from devolving into chaos. But even they concede his popularity at the polls has declined considerably. Some in the ANC rumor that this was always the strategy, that Ramaphosa would ride out the coalition talks, navigate the chaos of the post-elections, and then retire, graciously passing on the baton to his deputy. If that is so, Mbalula perhaps just got a little ahead of himself, spilling what was meant to be kept tightly scripted. But to the public, the drama has burst into the daylight. Social media is a war zone. #S, #Ripos are out, #Mbalula moves, and #Meshtal rising full cyberspaces. For some citizens, this is a welcome relief. They see Ramaphosa as the symbol of stagnation. Too slow, too cautious, too compromised. In their eyes, someone new like Moshetel offers an opportunity to reboot, to give new life to an exhausted government. But others are appalled. They regard Ramaphosa as a stabilizing influence, the thin thread holding back the ANC from completely crashing. To them, Mbalula's loose lip is not only irresponsible, it is threatening. It erodes democratic processes within the party and the country. One trending post encapsulated that sentiment: Mbalula is not a prophet and South Africa is not his congregation. We vote, we decide, not him. The ANC, on the other hand, is at one of its darkest hours. Coalition talks are in the balance. Opposition parties send blood in the water. The Democratic Alliance, economic freedom fighters, and even Jacob Zuma's new MK formation are hovering like vultures. For them, the ANC's internal chaos is a chance to further subvert the ruling party, to split its vote, and to stake claim as credible alternatives for frustrated voters. If Paul Moshetel is actually poised to take over from Ramaphosa, the job ahead of him is a huge one. He would have to take over not just the most split ANC in decades, but a country that is hanging on the brink of unemployment, poverty, corruption scandals, and a stagnant economy. Moshow may be admired for his political acumen and organizational ability, but he does not have the wide near-universal statesman-like popular support Ramaphosa once enjoyed. To regular South Africans, however, he is a less-known figure perceived as effective by some as an accommodation candidate given a push by ANC operators. And that brings us to the issue of power. If Marshall assumes the presidency with Mbalula as his louder supporter, will he be his own man or just a figurehead, a puppet for the ANC's entrenched inner circle? South Africans have already witnessed this dynamic where actual power is not in the president's office, but in the shadowy halls of Latuli House. And as for Mbalula, the incident has again solidified his image as a firebrand and a lightning rod. With his blunter-than-blunt tweets, his incandescent rhetoric, and his raw unvarnished commentary, he has built his career on being incendiary. But this time, commentators insist he has crossed a line. Others charge him with crossing party procedure, with sabotaging coalition negotiations at a critical juncture, and with removing Ramaphosa's authority in the most conspicuous manner imaginable. Others though regard it as masterful political maneuvering, a gambit that challenges the ANC to face reality outright and speeds up the handover of power. Either way, Mbalula has again positioned himself at the forefront of national attention. Adore him or despise him, he is leading the charge. And in politics, attention translates to power. The coming weeks will be pivotal. If coalition packs show up Ramaphosa's leadership, he can hold on to power for a little longer, grabbing time to depart on his own terms. But if Mbala's support for Moshow gains traction, the president could become increasingly isolated, cornered into a scenario where resignation is his only resort. For South Africans, the stakes are never higher. The sense of betrayal, hope, anxiety, and expectation is simmering over. Ordinary citizens exhausted by corruption leaks, load shedding and economic desperation crave leadership that brings concrete change. But they are also skeptical of promises that sound too good to be true of leaders who act on behalf of party elites at the expense of the people. The ANC is at a critical juncture. Its decisions today will determine not just the future of the party but the course of the country for the next few years. Will it rally around Ramaphosa for stability or take a risk on Moshow as the face of renewal? Will Mbalula's bet be seen as reckless bravado or as the catalyst that brought in a new dawn?